Hey guys, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Today's video is showcasing the first hunter build of Witch Queen, which I know it's a little bit late in the season, but trust me, there's a reason for that. This is one of my favorite endgame builds in all of PvE, and across all three classes, this is my go-to for whether it's soloing master level content, attempting solo, and just doing GMs. This is it, and in my opinion, it's the best one there is. Before we get into it, be sure to like and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content like this. And for the rest of April, the American Heart Association charity drive is still ongoing, so if you feel like donating, there's a link on my Twitch page. Thank you in advance. Getting right into the build, we are on Night Stalker, and I'm using Deadfall. I'm using Deadfall just because it's a lot better support option. However, if you want to rock Mobius Quiver, you can definitely do that and get a lot more boss damage in. It's one of the best natural DPS supers out there, especially with Devouring Depths, although we're not really going to be able to use that with this build. I'm also using Marksman Dodge just to reload our weapon upon dodging, and also a Vortex Grenade because it's one of the best PvE nades in my opinion. As far as aspects go, I'm rocking Stylish Executioner, which allows us defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target to make us go invisible, which is something we're going to do a lot with this build, and also Vanishing Step, which just makes us invisible when we dodge. As far as fragments go, we're going to rock Echo of Obscurity, which allows our finishers to grant us invisibility, Echo of Undermining, which allows our void grenades to weaken targets, Echo of Persistence, which allows our invisibility to have increased duration, and then Echo of Remnants, which allows our vortex grenade to last longer. Jumping right into the mods in the build for today, let's start off on our helmet. First off is Reaping Wellmaker. This is pretty simple. After you activate your class ability, in this case our dodge, our next final weapon kill will drop a Void Well. As far as other mods go, you can really support either your super or your weapons. I'm supporting our exotic weapon just because with this build we're basically spamming it like it's a primary weapon. However, if you want to rock, say, Dual Dynamo and then rock Mobius Quiver, you can definitely use this and have a great way to get your super back really quickly. Onto our exotic armor for today is Aeon Swift. I'm specifically rocking Sect of Insight, which allows our precision weapon takedowns to have a chance to drop Orb of Power for our allies, but what's more important is that when we use a finisher on Elite, we generate special ammo for our fire team, and when we use a finisher on a boss or mini boss, we generate heavy ammo for our fire team. We're primarily doing this for champions, as well as Lucent Hive in Witch Queen related activities, and honestly, it's one of the best ways to make sure that you always have it for stuff like Grandmaster content, because there are so many champions there, you can basically spam heavy ammo, and as long as someone on your team is using Aeons, it's a fantastic way to make sure they always have it. I'm also rocking Elemental Charge, which allows us to gain 2 stacks of Charge with Light every time we pick up a Void Well. For this build, I'm rocking Unstoppable Glaive and Anti-Barrier Scout Rifle, simply because those are the champions that you're going to run into doing Witch Queen related content. So stuff like the Lightblade GM is one of the hardest GMs in the game. These are the champions that you're going to run into. Of course, I primarily function this build around a Glaive, so if you need to switch this for Overload, for example, you can always use Overload rounds with an SMG or an auto rifle, and that would work just fine. So our chest piece. I'm rocking Well of Utility, which is actually the first build this season I'm featuring this. Essentially picking up a Void Elemental Well grants you more class ability energy, and Well of Utility essentially functions the same as Well of Ordnance, except it benefits our class ability. If you remember, we're getting our dodge back already really quickly. This is just a great way to benefit additionally from picking up those Void Wells. As far as other mods go, if you want to rock anything specific resist, say for example a Thermoshock plating and like a Void resist or a Sniper resist, you can do that too. I'm rocking a Thermoshock to get resistances for both arc and solar, as well as a rocket launcher reserve, again benefiting our exotic weapon. But if you want to use any variety of those two, go ahead and do that. Our next ability onto our legs is Argent Ordnance. Essentially, while we're charged with light and we ready or fire a rocket launcher, it grants it increased damage and grants us increased reload speed, and it consumes 1 stack of charged with light whenever it hits a combatant. This is one of the best mods out there for rocket launchers because it's a great way to apply an instant 20% weapon buff with one mod and grants us plus 50 reload speed on a rocket launcher, and this way we don't have to sacrifice our champion mods in order to rock a loader mod. With all this considered though, even if we don't want to benefit from that reload and we just want to dodge, get a rocket back, we can do that instantly, and again, we're having our dodge back so often, it's really worth sacrificing that invisibility you get with it just for that instant reload for, say, boss DPS. I'm also rocking Rocket Launcher Scavenger, just again, benefiting our exotic weapon, and then Absolution, which reduces all of our ability cooldowns each time we pick up an Orb of Power, so that grants us more grenade, melee, and dodge energy every time we pick one up. And then finally onto our mark. We're using Suppressing Glaive, which whenever we damage a combatant with our Glaive, it suppresses them and prevents them from using abilities for a short period of time. This would include Hive Knights putting up their barrier, Fallen Captains teleporting. Although suppressing them really isn't focusing on abilities for this build, it's a great way to actually get defeats with suppressed targets, which then grant invisibility. And considering the fact that Glaives can use both a projectile or a melee, it's a really versatile option for granting us invisibility nearly constantly. And then Lucent Finisher. This is one of the most important mods for this entire build, and Before you ask, yes, it does stack with Aeons. So defeating a Lucent Hive Lightbearer or a champion with your finisher spawns heavy ammo for you and your allies. What this means is that every single time we perform a finisher on a champion, not only is that finisher going to grant us invisibility, but it'll drop 2 heavy bricks. Every time we perform a finisher on a mini-boss, we get invisibility and 1 heavy brick. And every time we perform a finisher on a Lucent Hive, we will get a singular drop of heavy ammo. And just to point out, you do get the invisibility on the initial finisher for that Lucent Hive, but only when you actually crush the ghost will you get that heavy ammo to drop. And before you ask, you actually get invisibility on both those finishers if you do them back to back. This is a fantastic way, again, for solo play because it lets you constantly have heavy ammo, and of course it translates directly into fireteam and with multiplayer play for endgame content, meaning your entire fireteam now has that much ammo for heavy weapons. I'm not kidding. This build allows you to spam heavy weapons like their primary weapons, and if you ever need ammo, it's really easy to get it back, and with scavengers and finders, even in GMs, you're able to use heavy weapons, specifically I'm using Two-Tailed Fox, like it's nothing. It's just insanely easy, and it lets you constantly spam it. I mean, things get a lot easier when you have basically unlimited heavy ammo, and this is exactly the best build for that. Finally, onto our weapons. Like I mentioned earlier, any weapons that support your champion mods are really going to be the best choice for you. I'm personally using Night Watch, and for those wondering the role, this is actually the curated role you get from doing the New Light campaign, and it's personally one of my favorite scout rifles in the entire game. It has explosive payload and overflow. Explosive payload is essentially just a damage dealing perk. It's a scout rifle, so range fall off really isn't that crazy anyway. And then overflow, which whenever we pick up heavy ammo or special ammo, it automatically loads the weapon well beyond its normal capacity. This actually doubles whatever its base magazine is. So if you notice, we have a magazine of 19. Anytime we pick up heavy ammo, which it's going to happen a lot, we'll have 38 rounds in this magazine, which is perfect for staggering champions even in Grandmaster level content, because it typically only takes 4 or 5 shots to really stagger them. So we'll have plenty of ammo essentially all the time. As far as glaives go, I'm using a Lubre's Ruin. This one isn't weapon crafted or anything. It does have surrounded on it, benefiting the weapon's projectiles. And then also turnabout, which whenever we use it to break a combatant shield, it'll grant us an overshield, which is just a nice kind of touch for PvE. And then intrinsically, of course, it has Soul Drinker, which we gain health based on the number of hits before reloading. Again, a nice perk, but nothing too crazy. Onto our exotic heavy for today is the Two-Tailed Fox, which is something I really haven't used a lot since its debut, but I have to say this is the perfect exotic for this build. I couldn't think of a single weapon that fits this build better. Essentially, it shoots 2 rockets with intrinsic tracking, 1 void and 1 solar. Now, the void rocket will actually suppress on hit, and the solar rocket will actually burn on hit. And if you've been keeping the build in the back of your mind, you already see why this is fantastic. Not only is it just a great ad clear weapon, it's great for breaking shields for firing to elemental types, but it's a great way to suppress enemies on hit, which grants us invisibility. And considering the fact that we're shooting this thing like a primary with all the heavy ammo we're getting drops for, it's absolutely insane. You take this into account with the Godslayer Warheads buff applied from Argent Ordnance, and we're effectively getting a 20% weapon damage buff to both rockets each time we shoot the thing, and with Tethered applying debuffs to champions and enemies, this thing absolutely melts. When I tell you this is the perfect weapon for the build, I mean it is the perfect weapon. I know if you're thinking, oh, well, maybe I could use Tractor Cannon or I could use something else. Trust me, this is the best way to go. It is absolutely insane. Not only is it a great ad clear tool, but it's also applying suppression effects, which make us go invisible. It's great for breaking shields because it deals with void and solar shields. It does everything. And again, we're shooting it like it's a primary weapon. Again, this whole build is just about going invisible as often as we can, popping in and out of cover to finish champions and generate heavy ammo for us and our fire team. And again, with all the mods and Aeons that we're using, we're basically going to be able to shoot our heavy weapon like it's a primary, which is absolutely insane. Applying buffs for ourselves and debuffs for our global fire team. It's one of the best builds in the entire game, and literally my favorite build currently on Hunter, just because of how dominant it is in endgame activities. Invisibility is one of the best intrinsic perks for PvE, especially endgame content. Having the ability to just remove yourself from combat wherever you are is incredibly valuable, and it enables you to just simply run around the battlefield, go pick up reses, go pick up heavy ammo, perform finishers on faraway targets. Just the overall idea of invisibility is fantastic. Again, this is one of my favorite and by far the most dominant build I've ever made on Hunter. So if you're struggling with GM content, I highly recommend this build. Trust me, you won't regret it. It feels absolutely insane. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the continued support on these builds. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you saw today, and let me know down in the comments what builds you're looking forward to for next season. I already have a lot of stuff going on with glaives in my head, with the absurd glaive changes coming. We might even see something better than Hammer Titans for DPS next season, but that's to be seen. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one.